What is going on, YouTube? It's Wad, and we need to talk about update 1.6.0. This update snuck up on me so fast I had to change my pants before recording. Major parts of this update include long-awaited changes to the Recon senses, an extensive reworking of Las Vegas, the introduction of the finals' first limited time event, and with it, brand new cosmetics, and much, much more. I'm not going to waste any more time since we've got a lot to get through today, so let's get into it. The first big change is something we all expected since the last update, and that's an overhaul of the Recon senses. From the patch notes, Embark writes they've added a range limit to Recon senses set to 30 meters, and that players beyond this range will no longer be detected. Additionally, any player caught within this radius will now receive a detected warning on their heads-up display. They also give their reasoning for this change, which boils down to the specialization's high pick rates and the confusion it was causing in newer players, who likely wondered how some of their opponents in matchmaking knew where they were at all times. For those of you who've been watching my content on the finals lately, it should come as no surprise that I am very happy with this change. In my last upload, I thought a combination of a reduced radius and an in-game cue to signal its use were all the changes the Recon senses needed to keep it viable while addressing the issues players had with it. It's also a very good sign to see Embark working to balance the game from within, rather than by looking outward and taking direction from other class-based first-person shooters. The finals needs to keep its identity and make its own path to have any staying power, and this is a good start. Moving on, the next major change coming with this update is the introduction of a limited time event, Steal the Spotlight. In this solo mode, players take to Las Vegas at night to fight each other for vaults and the money lining each other's pockets. The catch: the lights are out, players spawn with pre-made loadouts, and the cash-out spots are guarded by turrets and tripwires. There's also a limited time cosmetic attached to the event, which players can earn just by playing. There's little to complain about here. While I do think the game mode is a little unimaginative, Embark's commitment to keeping the game fresh with new content and providing players opportunities to earn cosmetics without spending their money is something that promises to keep players playing and bring players back. Done correctly, the free-to-play model requires a delicate balance between give and take. When it becomes clear to players that content drops only serve the monetary interest of the game, players move on. Provide content that leaves both parties feeling like they got something, and players stay. And this part of the update is a great step in that second direction. The same is true of the additional 10 ranks they added and the cosmetic unlocks attached to them. Good work, guys. Next up, it looks like Embark went back to the drawing board for the Las Vegas map, and I'm here for it. There are a lot of small changes here. If you're interested in these, you can pause the video now and read them. But I really see two main threads connecting these changes. As it stood before the update, Las Vegas was a map that had the most highlights and most lowlights out of any for me. Fights along and across the strip were exciting, while making sense of the casino's interiors was outright confusing. Clearly, Embark agreed, as they've went through great lengths here to address this. From reducing asset clutter like monitors and chairs, increasing exit points, whether by adding doors or expanding pre-existing zip lines for easier roof access, and rearranging cover and objects to improve the general flow of the map, these changes promise to make Las Vegas easier to traverse and more engaging. Embark also removed the turret and tripwires variant of Vegas from every mode save the limited time event. While I would like to see more dynamic parts added to the maps, they need to be added in ways that don't tip the balance too far in favor of one team. If I had to guess, Embark saw from the data that teams who commenced the cash out first won at way too high a percentage on the turrets and tripwires variant. Hey guys, it's Odd by Wad here alongside my trusty sidekick Odd by Crow to remind you that only 1.9% of you watching are subscribed. If you're enjoying my videos, take a chance on me and join the fastest growing community of champions in YouTube history. All you gotta do is hit that big red button on the bottom of your screen. Thank you guys, now let's get back to the video. At this point in the video, I'm going to switch up the structure by sorting the remainder of the update into 3 parts: utility changes, by which I mean changes to gadgets and specializations, gameplay fixes, and way of life improvements. In terms of utility, Update 1.6.0 came with 3 noteworthy changes. The first pair comes to Mr. Bully Boots, the heavy class. Gone are the days of one universal color for enemy dome and mesh shields, as players will now have the option to sync enemy shields with that team's respective color. I don't see this change affecting much beyond making the game more intuitive, which is a good thing. I guess this slightly nerfs the heavy class by letting teams know now when they can push without fear of return fire, but this is a stretch. Next, Embark addressed placement problems with the ziplines, writing that they've improved placement validation for ziplines, making them easier to deploy. I'm not a zipline user, but I'm big on any change that shortens the distance between a player's intent and the game's response. So this is a good thing to see. The jump pad also has similar issues on angled surfaces that I'd like to see fixed, but these are very few and far between. Last on the list are changes to the vanishing bomb, but because I don't have my PhD in statistical analysis, I'm just going to focus on the final of these changes. Specifically, Embark increased the length of the vanishing bomb's effect on teammates from 5 to 6 seconds. If I had to guess, most of you watching don't approve of this 20% increase, but I don't mind it. In my opinion, support-oriented changes like these make room in the meta for the light class, which is a good thing. Turning to gameplay fixes, Embark knocked this one out of the park like they just signed a contract for $700 million. The first of these dingers comes to the game's audio mixing. From the patch notes, Embark writes that they updated footstep audio and mix for the player, teammate, and enemies so that it's easier to tell them apart. While easy to overlook, changes like these do a lot of quiet work, raising the game's quality and players' experience. No one enjoys playing a game where they feel like they're being cheated by the audio. The next change on this list will satisfy controller users, with Embark writing that they fixed an issue with aim assist sensitivity reduction, causing almost no sensitivity reduction to be applied to targets closer to the player than 20 meters. I am all for making this game more accessible to controller users, even if this means turning up aim assist. There are advantages and disadvantages to both mouse and keyboard and controller gaming, but it's important for us not to lose the forest for the trees. A healthy console audience will keep this game alive, and that's good for all of us. Embark also resolved various movement glitches like failed mantling and slide canceling. The most noteworthy change here was a fix to the bug where players could become stuck in encroached spaces. I'd like more clarity to know what exactly this addresses. Is this to prevent players from unintentionally getting stuck in objects, especially when falling? Or does this fix the bug where players get stuck in stairs, typically out of a jump? Movement fixes are great and all, but my heart tells me there's still some work to be done here. Embark also claims to have fixed an issue where splash damage would not register, but created a new problem with nukes in doing so. I'm not going to be too harsh here since big updates are bound to come with unintended bugs, but double C4s just gotta go. They also claimed to have fixed bow-legged animations. You
guys see that?
Yeah, you're bow-legged.
Yeah, you're bow-legged.
You look like the least athletic man on the face of the planet.
My legs look so bashful, my kneecaps look like they're getting asked out on a date.
Last for gameplay fixes, Embark addressed issues with the defibrillator's behavior when targeting statues in foliage and players' hands. Not much to say here, both great fixes. In terms of way of life improvements, there are 2 biggies. The first sees the option for players to adjust their loadouts for weapons, gadgets, and specializations added to the match lobby. The second lowers the number of rounds required before one can play ranked tournaments from 60 to 45. These are both great examples of Embark responding to the community's feedback, but let's not pretend swapping loadouts on the fly in matchmaking was something that shouldn't have come at launch. And that just about covers it. Altogether, I'd give this update a B+. The new limited time event, while a tad formulaic, is a step in the right direction for the finals to recover some steam, and the approach taken with the Recon senses sets a good precedent moving forward. Adding more free cosmetics is also great, but I'd still like to see more customization added to the existing pieces. It's nice to see Embark's willingness to rework maps, and the audio and gameplay fixes continue to show their commitment to improving players' experience. I still think the light class is a few additions away from being in the right spot though. Also, they need to introduce a way to look up previous opponents' stats, and in that same vein, expand the stats that the game tracks. This game feels perfect for an Apex-styled stat tracker and player cards to flex them. But those are just my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments. What did you like about this update? What didn't you like? Was the music in the background a good addition? Let me know. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.